Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to EU-funded program for smart growth and IPR issue in Chinese market webinar. My name is Anne Valtakari from Business Tampere, and I'm acting as a technical moderator in this webinar. We also have Maggie Keskinen from Business Tampere as a chat moderator, so you can ask questions by sending a chat message, and Maggie will pick up the questions from there. And opening words of the webinar will be presented by Yi Tang from Business Tampere. Yi, now it's your turn.
Thank you, Anne. So hello, everyone. Dear audience, thank you for joining us today. Our webinar today is hosted by Business Tampere. And during today's 1 hour and a half session, we will introduce you the EU-funded program for smart growth and China's recent development trends and IPR issue in Chinese market. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we will start the meeting by a short introduction of 4SmartGrowth program. And this is going to be focused on Chinese market entry and expansion. And today we are also honored to have our guest speakers from Business Finland and also Kousut Oy, and they will share their knowledge on different topics. Marko Kotonen, a senior advisor and China market expert from Business Finland, he will introduce China's 2020 5-year plan and the future opportunities for Nordic companies. And then we will welcome Liisa Nieminen, Ossi Huhtanen, and Janikka Olo from Kausler to tell us about IPR, trademark, and brand protection in China. We will have 2 Q&A sessions after each topic, and you are encouraged to write your requests and questions in the chat box. Next slide. So shortly about 4SmartGrowth program. And thank you again for joining and to hear about the program today. So 4SmartGrowth program, it is an EU-funded growth project running between 2019 to 2011 to increase export and to help companies, SMEs with smart solutions from a Central Baltic region to new markets, in this case, China and Chile markets. And shortly about the project partners. So project partners are Swedish incubators and science parks, and Westworld Science Park from Sweden, Technopole from Estonia, Turku Business Region, and Business Tampere from Finland. So qualified and selected SMEs from these regions with smart solutions from mobility, sustainability, health tech, green tech, education, and industrial solutions are being included in, they have been included in our first round of program. And that was during spring and autumn 2020. And we have just opened our second round of application. So we will run program activities during spring and summer of 2021. Next slide, please. So our original program plan was to help companies deepen their understanding of the targeted markets and also bring companies to the markets for business activities. And unfortunately, due to COVID-19, it prevented us from traveling. So we have to come up with new and corona-free ways to continue our business support to the companies. So during our first round of program, we implemented digital matchmaking activities for 20 Nordic companies with potential partners and customers in Chile and China market. And besides that, of course, we also have helped the companies with market knowledge, brand material localization, and industrial insights. We are also running webinars to continue our market entry support for 4SmartGrowth program. So last week we held a webinar on Chile. And today we are sitting here together to hear about Chinese market. And we will do similar digital matchmaking for our second round, which is already open for companies to apply. And we will focus on tech, sustainability, smart industrial solutions, and mining for this round. And we encourage qualified companies to apply. So please find out more about the program from the website. And so without further ado, I would like to give the floor to our experts today. So first, let's welcome Marko Kotonen from Business Finland to talk about Chinese new 5-year plan and the future opportunities for Nordic companies. Marko, the floor is yours.
Great, Marko, we can see your slides.
Marko, please share your slides. Share your screen, please. You are muted.
You're muted, but I can see Marko's slides here.
Are you sure that you see my slides, or are you seeing Maggie's slide?
Marko Kotonen, Business Finland.
Yeah, oh, this is still my slide.
Yes, so you need to stop sharing, I think.
Okay. Okay, now I can see Marko's picture.
Host disabled participant screen share. I'm pressing the share, but it says host disabled participant screen sharing disabled. So my screen sharing is disabled.
Can you try now again?
Oh, now it works.
Yeah, sorry. It was one click from this end.
I share this.
Oh yes, now we can see.
Hold on. Okay, so thank you, and welcome all to this China-related webinar organized by Business Finland. I'm going to be, I try to stop the video so that you cannot find it. Okay. Anyhow, so my name is Marko Kotonen, and I work as a senior advisor for Business Finland. And when I was doing this, I used to spend time in China. I was there actually 11 years, and I will show you my history. But I did some study about this 14th 5-year plan, and there's a lot of information about it. And so it's very difficult to, and then the official information in English is not yet published. So that way I had to be a little bit being creative, how to find the right information. And so, but let's see what I was able to gather. And this is my agenda. So I tell you a little bit about myself in China, what I did over there. And then I have the 14th 5-year plan. And then I'm going to be talking about the green economy and renewable energy a little bit. And then also a program called Made in China 2025, because it is kind of like part of this 5-year plans, but actually this Made in China program is quite a lot longer also than the 5-year plan. So this is my history in China. So first I was living in Dalian.
Marko, excuse me, the mic is really making a loud noise.
Almost.
It's like somebody's scratching a piece of paper or something.
Can you hear me now better?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
but there's still the noise.
I don't hear any noise here in this end.
Okay.
Is it possible that it's coming
from somebody else?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's somebody else. Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So first I was in Dalian about 3 years, and I was working there as a general manager of Konecranes Dalian company. And after being 3 years in Dalian, I was moved to Shanghai, and I was 5 years, totally over 5 years in Shanghai. And first I was the general manager of the Konecranes Shanghai factory, and then the supply director. I was responsible for 2 different factories, and then APAC and Northeast Asia sourcing and one JV integration as well. And after that, I moved to Shenzhen and I was there, or in Dongguan city actually was the factory. I was living in Shenzhen, but the factory was in Dongguan city, and I was the managing director of Note Electronics company, which is a contract manufacturing company over there. But it is a Swedish company, so they also have units in Sweden and one also in Finland. So the Dalian is a second-tier city. It's a population of about 6 million people, and the GDP per capita is about 12,000 euros. And it is the financial center of Northeast China. And there's a lot of heavy industries, IT, automotive, and high-tech companies in Dalian. And then tourism is also very important in Dalian. And it is the northest harbor in China, which doesn't freeze. And it is the 6th largest harbor in whole China. And there are also many Japanese, South Korean, US companies located in Dalian. And it's very close to Japan and South Korea, so it's obvious that they are coming to Dalian. And Shanghai is a first-tier city, and population is about 24 million. They are very different numbers, maybe 28 million. And there are about 14.5 million hukou holders. So those are the Shanghai residents, and there are about 10 million people then who are really from outside of Shanghai. And the GDP is about 19,000 euros per person. And it is a center of finance in China and globally as well. And it is a very much metropolitan city. So when I had visitors coming from to China from Konecranes, for example, I was always telling them that if you come only to Shanghai, you haven't even seen the China yet. And the Shanghai port is the busiest container port in the whole world. And the stock exchange is one of the largest in the world. So there are 6 large industries in Shanghai. It's a retail, financing, IT, real estate, machine manufacturing, and automotive. And they are altogether about half of the city's GDP. So they are very important for the city. And in 2017, there were about 318 million tourists visiting in Shanghai, and about 9 million were from overseas. So Chinese local people travel a lot also to Shanghai. And Shanghai has about 71 5-star and 61 4-star hotels. So it's very, very different city than any other cities in the world where I have been. And then the Shenzhen. Shenzhen is also a first-tier city. There are 2 pictures of Shenzhen, and one was taken about 40 years ago, and the second one is maybe even the same place right now. So Shenzhen has been going through drastic changes over the years. So 40 years ago, it was a fisherman village with about 30,000 people, and now there are about 20 million people in Shenzhen. And the GDP per capita is about 24.4 thousand euros. It's actually higher than even the Shanghai. And 1979, Shenzhen became the first special economic zone. And that was the time when really the China's development started. Since it was growing very fast, in 1990s, there was one high-rise completed every day. Or they were saying that the one high-rise was completed every day and boulevard every 3 days. So that can give you a picture about the growth rate. So it's faster than in the whole world right now. And it's also called Silicon Valley of China. But because there are a lot of hardware capabilities, it's actually even further than Silicon Valley in USA from that perspective. And it's described as being innovative, inclusive, young, and high-tech. And if you visit Shenzhen, you will recognize that there are a lot of young people. And the reason is that basically a lot of people, young people, are coming from outside and smaller villages and countryside and other cities, and they come to Shenzhen to work. And they are major Chinese corporations, and such as Huawei, Tencent, BYD, DJI, and SenseTime, for example. And it's located in Guangdong province, and which is the capital of the electronics and hardware manufacturer in the world. I have done some estimates, and I believe that almost half of the world's electronics is probably coming from that area. So it was really interesting to be in electronics field in Shenzhen. Then the history of and future of the 5 years plans. So in the beginning, it was they were building a well-off society in general. So it was the 8th and 9th 5 years plans, and then they were continuing and building the well-off society fully. And right now they have just done this for the 14th 5-year plan, and they are doing realizing the socialist modernization. And so it's I can tell you a little bit more later. So and then, but ultimately, China is planning to build a powerful modern socialist country, and this is already a quite political goal as well. Then there are some highlights of achievements by 2020. So the proposal of total Chinese economy in the world is actually right now 16.3%. So it affects the whole world's economy a lot. And I'm going to show you graphs on the next slide that how fast it started to grow compared to whole global GDP. And China's GDP is expected to exceed 100 million or 14.9 trillion. These numbers are so big that it's difficult to understand, but it's about 70,000, about $10,000 per person. And in Finland, the GDP is about a little bit less than $50,000. So that way we are quite a lot ahead of China still. And then more than 50 million rural residents have been lifted out of poverty, and more than 1.3 billion people are covered by the basic medical insurance, and nearly 1 billion are covered by basic old age insurance. So that way the retirement plans are already in place also over there. And that the living standards of the people have been improved. And the higher education has been made universal, so everybody is able to get the higher education as well, if they get to schools, of course. And see, what I saw during the 11 years, excuse me, is that when I went to China, my subordinates didn't travel still overseas, and not a lot in China either. But when I was leaving from China, then majority of my subordinates were already able to take holidays also outside of China. So the middle class was growing very fast, and this is of course affecting the Chinese economy, and also it's reflecting the new 5 years plan a lot. So this is how the GDP has been growing in China compared to the whole world's GDP. So about growth started around 93 already, and 2007 and 2008 the growth rate increased strongly. And that time I actually went to China 2008, so that time the GDP growth was about 12%. And then there are some highlights of eco-environment development achievements by 2020. So the energy consumption per unit per GDP has been decreasing 13.2% compared to 12-15. And then the number of the days with the good air quality has been increasing also, and it's about 82% of the days in prefecture level cities or regions is right now now there are good quality days, or the air quality is good. And surface water quality has been also increasing, and pollution, there's less pollution right now, and ecological environment quality was improved in general. If I compare those years when I was in China, in the beginning when I went to China, the number of the days when I didn't want to go jogging, for example, was a lot higher than in the end. But of course, it's probably partially also affected by the location, because Shenzhen has a better air quality than northern part of China. But I know as a fact also that for example, in Beijing and Shanghai, the air quality has been increasing a lot. It's visible. There are more days with the blue sky than before. And then the 14th five-year plan. So China aims to turn itself into market for the world. So opening up is so President Xi Jinping was saying that opening up is a fundamental national policy. And so they are also opening the internal market for the foreign companies. And China will provide more extensive market opportunities for other countries. So China's market is by the GDP is the second biggest in the world, and by purchasing parity, it's the biggest. And there are actually more wealthy people in China than in USA. So in China, there are about 100 million wealthy people, and in USA, 99 million. And the growth rate is still probably 6 to 8% in China. And China can provide a super large market for companies from outside of China as well. So it's definitely a very, very interesting market, even though it's not very easy to operate, especially if Western company tries to go to a real Chinese market. And then the effort should be made to achieve full employment and create better quality jobs. So of course the government wants to be taking care of the people, because in all actions it's very visible that they want to do that, because of course they don't want to be having a 1.3 billion people unsatisfied. And China will keep improving its business environment. It will continue to make its foreign related legal framework more open and transparent, and strengthen intellectual properties. So IP protection is a good sample of the future improvements, but it will be a long road before everything is settled in that area. So it's a cultural change, so it will not be easy, but it's very good that they are starting to take actions in that area. And later, after this presentation, you will hear more about the IP protection in China. And then China wants to move away from the world factory and climb up the value chain. And policies are to be equal to all companies registered in China, also foreign companies. And the negative list of foreign investments was also shortened. So they try to open up, at least they try to show for foreign companies that they are opening up the market, also Chinese market for them as well. And China will push for more open domestic and international circulations for not only Chinese own development needs, but also the greater benefit of people in all countries. So that's called dual circulation. And here they are mentioning these foreign companies also, but I believe that they are still they want to be less dependable from other countries, especially because of the trade war right now, and especially they are developing certain technologies to be less dependable of other countries, and also the energy consumption and creating energy, so that they want to be more dependable, self-sufficient. And so I call this more that from China for China, and I have said that already several years ago. So now it's coming as a more common phrase nowadays. So the key focus of 14th five-year plan is they are focusing on high quality development, this dual circulation, and taking safety as a cornerstone. So product safety, food safety, environment, elderly people will be taken care of better, and such. And then the technology and innovation, they are very, very important, and environment as well. And promoting consumption through urbanization. So they are promoting the urbanization very much. So China R&D spending. So in no, the difference between 14 and 15 plan is that now this new plan is clearly there is a global twist. And I think that the most important thing is that the GDP is no longer a target or GDP growth. So they are focusing more on quality and innovation than the growth of the GDP only. And it is the continuation of the 13th plan, but more innovation driven. And then climbing up the value chain as well. And carbon neutrality is also included in this 5 years plan. So Xi Jinping has said basically that in, was it 2060, China is supposed to be carbon neutral, but they will still be increasing the carbon consumption until 2030. And there's no clear plan how they are going to be realizing that carbon neutrality, at least not yet. So now about China's R&D spending a little bit. So it was year to year, it was increasing 12.5%. So and now it's about 2.19% from the GDP, and it is a record high at this moment. And then China remains the world's second largest R&D funding entity, and the gap with the United States is gradually closing. And China is definitely investing on the R&D and innovation right now. So I don't know actually how much the US is in R&D expenditure is compared to GDP, but I'm guessing that the China will be reaching that number at some point of time. And then there are in this 5-year plan, there are some key emerging strategic industries, and there's information technology. It's actually very important. And then high-end manufacturing, and that's why they have this Made in China 2025 plan. So this is supporting actually both of those. And then green economy and renewable energy and biotechnology and medical health. Those are the main industries in this most recent 5 years plan. And in this presentation, we agreed that I would try to tell you more about the green economy and renewable energies. So China's achievements on low carbon economy. So they are installing a lot of wind turbines. So they have been building 10 million kilowatts in less than 8 years. And the annual growth rate is still nearly doubling. And the China is world's largest exporter of solar power systems. And they are supplying about 40% of the world's demand for photovoltaic equipment. And then they are the largest producer and consumer of solar water heaters. So 50% of the world's total production and 65% of the total installations are in China. And about 95% of the core technologies of solar water heaters are held by Chinese companies. And then in China, they have produced the first car, pure electric car which can travel 400 kilometers with a single charge and with 5 passengers. And then there are some tough tasks to do with the carbon emissions. So the President Xi Jinping said that China aims to peak its carbon dioxide emissions before 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality before 2060. But like I mentioned, there is not a clear plan yet how to do it, but here I collected some ideas what they could be doing for this. And so the ratio of non-fossil fuels in China energy mix needs to reach 20% during the 14th 5-year plan and 25% by 2030. So they have to be reducing using the fossil fuels and moving towards the non-fossil ones. So wind power, solar power, and nuclear power are very important in this task, of course. And then they are talking about the integration of the digital technologies with low carbon development to seek high quality development. And then of course they need to be some of those clear tasks are that they need to be optimize the efficiency of the public transportation, for example, and they also need to be encouraging the adoption of new energy vehicles. And for example, they are doing it in even with the consumers, that if you buy a car, electric vehicle in Shanghai or Shenzhen, you get a license plate with a very low cost. And the license plate, I don't know how much they are right now exactly in Shanghai, but they are probably over 100,000 RMBs, which is about 12,000 euros. And it's almost the same level, only the license plate is about the same level in Shenzhen as well. So license plate alone can be costing more than a little car or used car in Finland, for example. So the solid waste is of course one area that which needs to be a lot of consideration, with recycling. So the circular economy and so they have a pilot program called No Waste City, and they have a comprehensive program to promote maximum reduction of the disposal and the of this disposal and of the solid waste. And so they will need a municipal solid waste sorting systems, and that is a big opportunity, of course, for the Finnish companies as well. So and then they are limiting and restricting the excessive packaging and more non-biodegradable plastics and single-use plastic products. So that is a big opportunity as well, that if there are companies in Finland, and I'm sure they are, that which can be providing alternate solutions for the plastic products. And then the establishing an extended producer responsibility. So they are doing that one as well. So they are extending the responsibility of the manufacturers with the hazardous waste. And
Marko, excuse me,
yes.
max 5 minutes, and then we need to move on.
Let's go first.
Yes.
Faster. So the incineration will be becoming the mainstream solution for municipal solid waste management in China. So in that area, there are many opportunities, and they are looking for possibilities, for example, for increasing the efficiency of these plants. And also the solid waste sorting systems are important here as well. And then the cost for the cost efficiency improvements also so it's about they are using in China right now mechanical grade technology, and improving the energy efficiency of mechanical grade plants is the key to cost reduction. For example, shorting the households wastes would be very important, being able to do that, and then they increase the efficiencies. And then the boilers and turbines will be needed as well, higher efficiency boilers. And opportunities for pollution monitoring and control solution. So dioxins remains are relatively difficult to control. So if Finnish companies have ways to measure and control the dioxins, that's going to be very good opportunity. And disposal of flying ash is also very important over there in China. So they are looking for solutions for that as well. And opportunities for new waste energy solutions enabled by the municipal solid waste sorting system. So those sorting systems for kitchen waste, for example, they would have if somebody has a system for that one, that's going to have a big market also in China. And alternative products for the plastics, which I mentioned already before. and also opportunities for recycling the plastic. So sorting and recycling and bringing more technologies to that area. And then the recyclable textile fiber technologies, that's also important area where there will be a future opportunities based on this 5-year plan. And there are some companies in Finland which have a lot of technologies in this area. And the water management in China market, that's especially the rural wastewater treatment. It's mainly they are disposing everything to lakes or the rivers right now, so that there will be a lot of opportunities in that area. And 60% of hospitals in China do not properly dispose medical sewage. And what is made in China 2025? So I'm going to tell you just shortly about this. So there are 3 steps for Made in China 2025. So step 1 is entering world manufacturing power, and it is happening in 2025. And step 2 is entering world mid-tier manufacturing power, and step 3 is 2049 is the target and leading world manufacturing power. So they are definitely want to be climbing up the value chain, and there are a lot of actually very interesting areas which they are going to be developing based on this plan. So here are the focus areas, and I have slides which are drilling down to a little bit deeper in this area. So I will be providing those slides also to you after the presentation. So new information technology, robotics, airspace technologies, ocean engineering and high-tech ships, advanced railway equipment, and so on. Share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marko. So now we would have the Q&A session. Are there any questions for Marko Mägi?
Is it on?
Yes.
So far, we cannot see any questions in the chat box, but Anne, if you would check from your side too, from the chat to make sure.
Let's see, I'll check. No questions so far. Yes, but Marko's material was really precise and very good. So if there's a question
Now
coming up. Oh, there's one.
Anne, now we have a question from
Good.
Henry.
Good.
How do you see cloud tech in China? Problems with IPR and firewalls? Go ahead, Marko.
I have quite a lot of concerns if we are thinking about this like firewalls and then the protecting the privacy. I have quite a lot of concerns, and I am not 100% sure how well they are going to be doing that, and there are also certain reasons why the information is collected. So I would not be trusting my any very confidential information to those systems. That's my opinion.
Okay, so if that was the only question so far, or do you see any other, Maggie, in the chat?
No, not so far. And I think later on, if we have some questions that are more towards Marko, we can then have Marko again reply. But we will also share all the materials afterwards and Marko's contact information in case you want to ask something directly from him. Right, Marko?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And one more question came in, but Anne, I think we should move on from, so we can have the question then in the later session. Or Marko, if you want to respond in the chat box, then that would be possible too.
Yeah, that's also a possibility. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then we will move on to Cluster's China IPR experts who share their share their knowledge. So who goes first?
I will go first. Thank you.
So was that Lisa?
Yes.
Who was the person?
Sorry about the mask.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. You're at Maggie's PC. That's right. Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Hi everyone, and welcome on our behalf as well. I'm Lisa Niemen, and I'm working as a patent agent at Colster. I'm here to give you a small presentation of our company, and then my colleagues Ossi Huhtanen and Jani Kaulo will talk more precisely about IPR-related questions. The aim of our show is to give you some concrete advice like to what things to consider when entering China market, what to do next, and which things to think about. And our information details will be on the end of the show. So please feel free to contact us if you want to discuss further about your company's point of view or something like that. Colster is one of the most experienced IPR houses and in Europe. In Finland, we operate at 7 different locations, and also we have our own operation at China and Germany and Russia. We can help you with all the IPR related questions, and to think about these China related services, we can help you with very simple and concrete like trademark checks from China databases, creating China domains if that's accurate for you, filing patent trademark design applications to China, and then like being a true partner, like helping to build IPR strategy in China, assisting in legal negotiations, and also assisting in defending our customer rights. So that's about Colster, and now I will give the floor to Ossi Huhtanen on more about IPR strategy and patenting in China. Please, Ossi, floor is yours.
Thank you. First, I'll introduce myself. I'm a European patent attorney with 25 years of experience in this field. I have had the pleasure to have many companies who have been very active in China. As a patent attorney, my presentation concentrates in patents, and my colleague Jani Kaulo will talk about brand protection and contracts and further case examples, for example. Just in case, because I'm working from home, I'll turn off my video. Yes, the first slide, please. First, I'd like to discuss about the background relating to patents. This slide shows trends in patenting in the 5 most important IP offices. And as you can see, there has been an increasing number of patent applications filed in a year. For example, in European Patent Office, the number has been increased from 160,000 patent applications in a year to 175,000 from year 2010 to 2018. That's a huge increase. Also a huge increase in Republic of Korea from 170,000 to 220,000 patent applications. Japan has been traditionally very active in patent application. There's no increase, but still the number is over 300,000 new patent applications filed to Japan in a year, huge number. And in the US, the filings have been increased from 500,000 with a more than 20% to over 600,000 in a year. However, those huge increases are nothing compared to China. China is in its own league. In 2011, the Chinese Patent Office received more patent applications in a year than any other patent office. And 2015, the number of new patent applications exceeded 1 million. And now, or at least 2018, the number is over 1.5 million new patent applications in a year. Where do these applications come from? Next slide. As you can see, most of the patent applications are filed by Chinese companies because Chinese government encourages Chinese firms to protect their innovations by giving tax benefits, for example. However, non-Chinese filings are increased from 100,000 filings to 150,000 new filings in a year. And that's understandable because China is an important market also for companies outside of China. And there are also further reasons why companies outside of China are increasing their filings in China. Next slide, please. The patent law and judicial system have been developing and are constantly developing to become more friendly to patent owners. You can enforce your patents and you can defend your rights by litigation. And as we heard in the 14th five-year plan, it is stated that China keeps improving its business environment. And next slide, please. Some words of the Chinese IP environment from the European perspective. As I said, the IP environment is changing into more friendly atmosphere also for the Western companies. There has been an increased number of litigations and the success rate for Western companies has been improved. However, the IP competition is more fierce. As we saw, due to increasing amount of applications. At this moment, good to remind you that a portion of these Chinese applications will, or Chinese inventions and also the patent applications will enter to other regions as well. We'll see, we have already seen and we will see an increased number of Chinese applicants filing patent applications to Europe, for example. Next slide, please. The IPR protection and business environment in China has been developed. Here's some examples that show what progress has been done already. already in force is the improvements in the legal system. The cost of IPR infringement has been raised. Also, there has been improvements in the scope of IPR protection. For example, graphical interfaces can be protected by design patent protection. Judicial interpretation on IPR have been further improved. And one example of improvement is that China has presented specialized IPR courts in Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou already on 2015. The situation is further improving. Next slide, please. And the fourth amendment to patent law provides following, amongst other following points. One issue is an improvement in design patent. As of 1st of June 2021, protection of a portion of a design is possible. It is possible, for example, in Europe already. The protection term for designs is in Europe maximum 25 years already. In China, now it is maximum 10 years, but it will extend to 15 years. There will become a patent term extension in addition to the maximum 20 years if the application procedure takes a long time. Thus, if the grant of the patent becomes 4 years after filing, you will get a patent term extension. And drug-related patents, if obtaining the marketing authorization for the medicine takes a long time, you will get a patent term extension. That's already in force in Europe, for example, but it will become available in China as well. There's an improvement relating to patent infringements. Damages for willful infringements will increase to 5 times to profits. The statutory compensation will be raised, and so on. Next slide shows an example of what could happen when you act in China. The left figure shows a short oscillating actuator of my client. They patented this actuator also in China. This is from the Chinese patent they filed. And some years later, they improved their product, and the figure on the right side shows the new generation of the product. It has the same principle, and therefore the patent that was filed is still a valid protection. And my client decided not to patent this new generation product. There was no need for a new application. However, there was a surprise. This figure on the right-hand side shows the new generation product in a utility model patent application, but it was not filed my client, it was filed by a party not known to my client. That's quite worrying. However, in this case, there was no need to worry, and this utility model patent application was never used against my client. And it's obviously because the principle was same as in the original application. So that new generation product is not inventive relating to the originally filed patent. And presumably the third party filed this utility model patent application to reach their filing target to get the tax benefit. However, it's understandable that worries. It might become, what if the new patent generation of the product would be so different that somebody could get a valid patent for that and not filed by you. We'll see in the case example what to do with that. Next slide, please. Last part of my presentation is a case study which discusses IPR strategy relating to patents. Background for this case study is that my client was at first a small-sized company. Now it's a middle-sized company. It's has its place of origin at Tampere area. Its field of technology is clean tech, and it has applications or equipment, for example, on air quality monitoring. The company develops new solutions, new inventive solutions for these specific applications. When they started, it was clear for them that they are heading for international markets, and international markets comprise Europe, USA, Asia, and Asia, of course, includes China. What happened to them was that, not surprisingly, their first market launch was in China. And next slide, please. And what was their IPR strategy? The core of the business is based on their own invention. So in their strategy, it was self-evident that own innovations must be protected with patents. As a startup, their IPR strategy was that they would protect their inventions with patents by filing first in Finland, which was and is cost effective for a startup. However, the geographical scope was so evident that within the priority year, within 1 year after the first filing in Finland, it was decided to file applications to Europe, USA, Asia, and Asia includes India, Japan, and China. Because I must mention that also the brand was protected, so that this startup was prepared to enter the Chinese market with the first application of first generation equipment. But when they entered the Chinese market, they updated their IPR strategy, which was already giving the good support for entering China, but they updated their IPR strategy. And you must remember always take care that you update your strategy if something happens in your business. And after the launch in China, they updated their strategy such that they still protect their new innovations, new inventions with patents by filing in Finland and thereafter to every other place, including China. But they wanted to secure their freedom to operate in China. And they decided that when they have new products generations, they protect or at least published their new generation equipment by utility model patents in China. So nobody else could file valid applications relating to the new generation products. And therefore the CEO could sleep his nights without worries. There would be no surprises as described earlier, or if somebody else files a utility model patent application relating to their equipment, that would definitely not be valid, but could be invalidated by their own filings. I think now I can give the floor to Jani.
Yes, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hello, Jani.
Okay. Oh, hello. Can you start my slide? Yes, thank you. Yeah, so my name is Jani Kalo. I work at Coaster as a trademark lawyer, and among other things, I advise Finnish companies in brand protection issues in China. And today I will briefly talk about brand protection related things in Chinese market. There's less than 20 minutes left, so I try to summarize some things more efficiently than originally planned. So China is often blamed or it's said that Chinese don't respect intellectual property rights, and it's true that the concept, the notion of IPR is very new to Chinese. But on the other hand, it's good to remember that actually the branding started from China long time ago. So thinking about marketing and thinking about, for example, brand related issues, it's nothing new to Chinese if you think about the history and the culture. Next slide, please. And this chart actually illustrates that the China will catch up and already has done long way to catch up the Western world in brand protection issues. As you can see, 2018, there were filed more than 7 million trademark applications in China. And the previous year, 2019, the statistics is still missing. But it's told by the Chinese authorities that last year the amount of trademark applications in China already exceeded 8 million. And same as in patents, you can see that most of the trademark applications are filed by Chinese companies. And rather, not small number, but compared to the Chinese companies' applications, much less are filed by foreign companies in China. Next slide, please. So what are the IPRs related to branding? I think they could be divided into five parts, like trademarks, of course, which can be is the name of the product, can be logo, labels, colors, slogans, 3D images, and so on. Then copyrights, which includes all kinds of materials which are protected by copyright, which are unique enough to be protected by copyright. And what is special in China regarding copyrights is that copyrights can be registered in China. So this is the difference to Europe. In Europe, you cannot. There are some exceptions, some few countries, but in general, for example, in Finland, you cannot register copyrights. They exist as such after creating the work. Then design patents, which can be the shape of the product or packaging. Then geographical indications, and of course, domain names. Next slide, please. So then I don't want to be to scare you too much, but this is something I have to bring up every time when I talk about brand protection in China. Trademark squatting is unfortunately a business model for some Chinese companies. Still nowadays, even after good amendments in trademark law, but it still happens that some companies are filing trademark applications. Basically, they try to find Western brands and filing applications for Western trademarks under their own name. And this is possible because China is first to file country when it comes to trademarks, meaning that the one who first files the application also obtains the registration. Most of these squatters are passive, which means that they just wait that one day the real legitimate owner of the trademark will contact them and ask to start to negotiate on buying the trademark registration. But some of these squatters are also active, meaning that they also use those trademarks by manufacturing fake products, for example. So in any case, even in a best case, this kind of squatted trademark can become a trade barrier in China. So the advice is to file the trademark application as early as possible, preferably before introducing the company, the products, or any of your brands to any Chinese. Yes, please. Next slide, please. So then some characteristics of trademark in China. Of course, you are thinking, how much does it cost to file trademark application in China? We are talking about quite small investment, starting from 850 euro if you use coaster service. Typically, the entire application process costs from 1,000 to 3,000 euros, depending on the scope of the application, how many classes are included in the application, and also how does the application process go. If there are some office actions issued by the Chinese authorities, that will mean, of course, more cost because we need to respond to those office actions. Then the registration, but in general, I can say that the registration certificate is obtained within 1.5 years from the filing date. It's quite a long time. Then if you have already trademark registration in China, but you don't have the registration certificate in Chinese, you should apply the Chinese version of the trademark registration certificate. The registration itself is valid, but you need to have a Chinese paper on the registration in order to validate it before the authorities. The trademark registration in China is valid for 10 years, same as in Europe. It can be renewed basically forever after every 10 years. Then in China, it's important to remember the rule of 3 years, which means that if you haven't used your trademark in Chinese market in 3 years after obtaining the registration, then the registration becomes vulnerable to cancellation based on the ground of non-use. So if your market entry is delayed, and you don't start the operations, the marketing and sale of your products in China within 3 years from the registration date, one option is to, and recommended option then is to file a new application after 3 years to avoid this threat. Then it's important to note, remember that the PRC trademark registration does not cover Hong Kong, Macau, or Taiwan, but you have to file a separate trademark registration in those jurisdictions. Yes, next slide, please. Then I have two case examples here. I will go through these very quickly. You can find actually both of these cases also in our own website, Coaster website, in our news. But briefly, to illustrate this trademark squatting problem in China is this case Allway. Allway had to postpone their market entry to China 6 years because they faced a trade barrier in the form of trademark registration. They applied their own registration in 2014, and then it was found out that the authorities in China, they rejected this application because they said that there is already the logo similar, not similar, but identical logo was already registered for same goods. So then, yeah, next slide, please. So what had to be done then in order to get own trademark registration was that Allway had to take a non-use cancellation action against the squatted bad faith registration. The office rejected the claim because the squatter had provided the proof of use of the trademark. So the good thing in this was that this bad faith registration was already more than 3 years old, which means that Allway was able to file this non-use cancellation against this registration. But anyway, the office rejected this non-use cancellation action because they said that the owner of the trademark has provided evidence on use. Then Allway had to appeal against the decision to the next level, which is the Board of Appeal. And the reason for the appeal was that it was we saw clearly that the squatter had provided falsified materials on the use of trademark. They had added the logo to some contracts and also some marketing materials afterwards. So it was clearly not genuine evidence. Next slide, please. But the Board of Appeal still considered the proof to be sufficient and valid to maintain the registration. Then the next step what had to be taken was to appeal again to the next level, which was the Beijing IP Court. Same time, the further investigation was launched on the falsified evidence, so that we could more efficiently attack in the appeal to say that this, and also show show the facts what indicates what shows that this material is not real. At that time, the hijacker, the squatter, also maybe started to feel more uncomfortable. They saw that this is not an easy case for them, so they also then started to contact Allway to sell the trademark to them. This never led to any real negotiations, and there was no deal. So the court proceedings were continued. Next slide, please. Yes, so then luckily the IP court found that the registration of the Chinese company must be cancelled. So they believed what we said to them, that this material is not genuine. But what happened then is not that we thought that, okay, now the case is solved and our client can forward the Chinese market, enter the Chinese market with their own brand and get the registration. But it didn't happen yet. The Board of Appeal, meaning the authority, appealed against the decision given by the IP court in Beijing, which means that the case went to the final instance, the Beijing High Court. Luckily, the Beijing High Court did not change the previous decision, so the registration was cancelled. And finally, Allway obtained the registration for their own logo in China in 2020, the spring of this year. So it took 6 years to clear this which looks rather simple trade barrier, but it took quite a lot of resources and a lot of time. Next slide, please. I have another case example of a company, Kide Science OU, which is specialized in early childhood science education. I just took this as an example to illustrate that how they are a good example of a company which took the IPR matters into account from the beginning when they started to do their internationalization strategy. So yeah, next slide, please. So regarding China, they filed a trademark application in 2018, which was very soon after the company was founded. They knew that China will be a potential market for them, so they decided to have the trademark protection in China as early as possible. Then later, the trademark protection was also supplemented by copyright registration, because you can also register the logo as a copyright in China. Then also copyright registration for relevant teaching materials, which are the commercially most valuable materials for the company. And then what is important is that they also started to localize their brand to Chinese market. First, availability search was conducted. There was one obvious obstacle found. After that, we had to think together what kind of filing strategy we choose, how to overcome this obstacle. And then the application was filed. The case is still pending. But this is the example of how a company can take into account these brand protection matters from the beginning. Next slide, please. Okay, then some summary. So that I hope that these are the things you will remember from this presentation. So what are the steps of managing IPRs in market entry to China? First, you have to choose your critical and the most valuable intangible assets. And then think how to protect and utilize them in China. Technology, know-how, brands, materials. Then you apply for the IPR registrations for those assets which can be protected by IPR registrations, like patents, trademarks, domains, copyrights, designs. Then very important is to have proper IPR clauses into all agreements, NDAs, license agreements, partnership agreements, cooperation agreements with local partners, distributor agreements, consulting agreements, etc. Basically, it applies to almost all kind of agreements. The IPR clauses are often neglected, or they are too simple in many contracts where the parties are agreeing quite complex matters, and then the IPR issues are not agreed in details as they should have been. So that's why I want to raise this matter up. Next slide, please. And then managing trademarks in market entry to China. So the first step would be to conduct an availability search for your trademarks, for your main brand in China. The availability search means that we will study whether your trademark is eligible for registration and or use in China. Then, if it seems the result of the availability search indicates that your trademark can be registered, the next step would be filing the applications for registration as early as possible. Because, as you remember, it takes more than 1 year to obtain the registration, even in the best case. Then what you need to think when you, especially when you start actions in Chinese market, is to localize your main brands, because Western brands, the Chinese people, the Chinese language role is so important in China that all the well-known Western brands, there will be a Chinese equivalent, Chinese version for those marks, even if the company doesn't create it from its own initiative. It will be formed it will be created in the market. So that's why it's better to be in the position to choose the local brand, the localized brand, and protect it as early as possible, to be in control what kind of Chinese name will be started to use your company and your products. Then the trademark watch should be extended to China. Trademark watch means that we control what kind of trademark applications your competitors are filing. And then, of course, important when you have the trademark and you also invest in registration is that you use the trademark as much as possible in all kind of marketing materials, invoices, contracts, etc. I think if this was the last slide. No, there's still a checklist. So the precautionary measures. Think about, first question is that have we registered the trademarks, applied for registration in the PRC? Then when you apply the registrations, do it in the name of the Finnish company. No joint ownerships with local partners or don't grant any right to local partner register under their name. Then NDAs with local parties when you start negotiating and share sensitive business information. NDA, it doesn't mean that you go to the court with the NDA, but when you ask them to sign the NDA, you show to them that you are serious with your trade secrets and your IPR, and so it's also have a precautionary effect. Then, of course, the active supervision of local partners and clients is very important to see what they're doing. If they infringe your IPR, it's not very rare case. Then consistent enforcement actions in case you find any infringements in the market. Then it's important to collect and archive the material on use of your trademarks to avoid this cancellation of the trademark registrations based on non-use. Because if someone challenges your trademark registration after 3 years, you have to provide evidence to the authorities that you have taken the trademark into use in Chinese market. Then it's important, and keep in mind, copyright registrations for commercially valuable materials. I think that was all. Now at least this last slide. Yes. So that's what my presentation, and I think we still have a few minutes time for questions and answers.
Yes, thank you very much, Jani, Ossi, and Lisa. And now, Maggie, it seems that there are questions for.
Yes. Okay, so here's one. Thanks for sharing the Alloway case, Jani. In the Alloway case, why do you think the Board of Appeal chose to appeal the VJ IPR court's decision, since it's such a straightforward case?
Yeah, very good question. Actually, until now, I didn't really understand any. I don't have any explanation why.
Okay.
Yes.
And then there's another question. So Ossi quickly just shared his views, but maybe you have some other views. So do you think it's possible to sell software to China like cloud services because of IPR and GDPR? Do you know about data regulations in China? Are there any? Does the CCP have to be given access to all data? Very practical question. Jani, I think you are on mute now.
Yes. I'm not able to say about the GDPR things related to China.
Okay, and Donnelly from Silver Bucket, I think it would be good if you could contact Colster for further discussion, because I think the question is a little bit complex.
Yes,
But,
yes, please. Yes, that's a good idea. We can talk. We can continue talking about that later.
Excellent. And are there any more questions from the audience? You can write it into the chat box. And thanks again for a very vibrant discussion in the chat. This is a good way to process the information while we're doing our webinars.
Okay, if there are no more questions at this stage, I think it's time for Yi Tang to give her end note.
Yes, hello. Anne, could you put the slide on for me? Yes, really great webinar, and also great thanks from our side to all the speakers. And of course, big thanks to everyone for joining our webinar today. And yeah, thanks again to Marco, Lisa, Ossi, Jani for speaking and also sharing your knowledge. And I would like to encourage you to find out more about our 4SmartGrowth program from our website. You can see from the screen here. And of course, we are also very happy to receive your company's application to join the program for China market entry and also expansion. And yeah, please feel free to contact Maggie and me via email. And yeah, we will also bring you more content about China and Chile market from our 4SmartGrowth team. So please stay tuned. And yes, once again, I would like to thank everyone for participating today, and also big thanks to all the speakers. So see you next time.
Thank you. See you next time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.